If you are an SEO agency, you can no longer ignore AI search. It is just way too powerful and it's here. And the good news is that you don't have to re-engineer your entire business model to start offering it to clients. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video here. So again, we have to account for both SEO and GEO, which stands for generative, I don't even know what it stands for, but it basically just means AI search optimization. And SEO does technically mean search engine optimization, not Google optimization. So really any search engine you're responsible for as an agency for your client. And again, we come over here and we look at the Google Maps pack result, which honestly, if you're doing SEO, should be your main focus right now because this is what drives the best business results. But also it's inside of ChatGPT and it's using a lot of this data, but it's also using a lot of other types of data as well. And we absolutely have to account for that. So let's talk a little bit about what's changed in local and how this impacts your service as an agency. So when it comes to Google marketing, right, traditionally we go there, it's very linear. You type in clear aligners, dentist near me, that's exactly what you're looking for. You take action on the result, or you'll then requery this to find another type of result. Whereas in ChatGPT, the entry point is much higher in the funnel, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Like you could take this exact query, I'm looking to straighten my teeth as an adult. You could type that into Google, but we already know what the results look like in Google. There's so much happening there. There's ads, there's maps packs, there's content, there's AI results. ChatGPT is a much cleaner, much better experience, and you know it because you're using it, right? So search is and will remain the entry point of the internet, but how people are searching for this and what they're using these platforms for is changing rapidly. And you can throw all the data that you want about like, oh, Google has more searches. Like, I understand that. But this search right here will end up in a much higher quality lead if and when it gets there, because what ChatGPT is doing is it's providing you all that educational information that you're consuming. You're then requerying, you're customizing, and you're getting results deeper and deeper and deeper in the intent funnel. And finally, when a result does surface, the quality of that traffic, the quality of that lead is 10 times higher because they're highly educated, because they are getting the result exactly what they want for exactly what they query. With Google, it's just much harder to get that. So it's changing very, very quickly. But what I do want to talk about is I want to talk about the differences between local SEO and then local GEO, right? So when I say local GEO, we're talking about optimizing for local search inside of AI platforms like ChatGPT. I'm calling it local GEO because, like I said, if you're doing SEO for clients, it should be localized. It's just the intent is better, the quality of the traffic is better, and it's just not getting gobbled up by informational content that doesn't have any sort of actionable results. So when I'm calling this local GEO, this means that there is an actionable endpoint that results in a lead or some sort of business result for your client. So on the left-hand side, we've got traditional results. Right-hand side, we've got the GEO results. I'm just going to go through these quickly and talk about them. So number one is going to be NAP consistency. We know that, right? Hey, have your name, address, phone number consistent across your Google Business Profile and citations. Versus local GEO, we're talking about entity authority, right? So platforms like Wikidata, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, like what does that mean exactly? So when we talk about traditional citations, it's really just a business mention, right? We're talking about like a lot of times like back-end platforms like Brown Book that nobody ever sees. You just put them out there on the web and Google uses that to triangulate, oh, they do have an actual name, address, and phone number. They are actually a local business at this location. But when we talk about entity authority, we're talking about recognizing the business as a verifiable entity across authoritative structured sources. Now, a lot of these are going to have overlap, right? You might look at a lot of these lists of entities and be like, yeah, I do those with citation building. That's great. But there's also a nuance to this in terms of the activity on those profiles, and also getting them hyper specific to the industry that you're working with, right? So we work with law firms. So we now have a list of entities that are like lawyer only. I wouldn't call them directories. They're like professional certifications almost. So like BBB, they also have professional certifications from being lawyers, right? So also like on their law schools, all those different platforms, we are then trying to get those built in here as a part of our citation process, because this is what ChatGPT is looking at. And also it's good for Google marketing too, right? Like these are not mutually exclusive. Doing one doesn't hurt the other. They actually help each other too. But this forces us to expand our list of what we're looking at, because these platforms are really, really smart at understanding all these other signals too and then rolling them into the rank factor as well. So when we talk about citations, we have to expand the scope of that to focus on these authority entities as well. So traditional SEO, Google Business Profile Optimization, you know how to do that. Very linear checklist. You can automate it with a VA or AI, categories, service posts, images, etc. Now, when we talk about local GEO, we're talking about structured factual content. So what does that mean? This is a really good example of a screenshot from ChatGPT from that clear aligners, and it's literally structural factual content. When we talk about looking at these different types of, I don't like calling them queries, it's more of like a conversation, right? These different types of conversational queries that people would be asking for when they're going through this process. One of those things is going to be cost, time, pros, cons, right? These are all pulling. You can see these little citations in here: Allure, Healthline, Colgate, New York Post, Dental and Orthodontics. They're pulling all this information and putting it into these very clean, digestible charts for people to understand. That's what this structured content refers to inside of ChatGPT. And you can see these citations. These are the equivalent of rankings. When we talk about SEO, we talk about rankings, those blue links or positions inside of Google that are very linear. Citations are basically showing up inside of these queries, inside of these conversations as a citation, like a citation in a white paper or they used to write in high school, right? Like this is citing the source. So when we talk about citing the source, how do we get cited as a source? Well, we need the right content, right? Because they're pulling in this content and they're using it to citation. So yeah, Google still cares about not consistency in reviews, but ChatGPT and these LLMs go further, looking at fact-based structured information that they can ingest and reuse in answers. So if you have too much sales copy, if you have too much fluff on your website, you're not going to get pulled through here, right? Like you actually need to do some research and put together data, lists, Q&A is important, and stats. And we just have to think about this, right? Like this is not keyword query based content, like clear aligner, pricing near me, stuff like that. It's much more conversational in the nature of how people are arriving at these results. And that's very important, right? We have to use our minds more than tools. We think about how people would be conversating and putting together this conversational type data content in order to show here, right? So we talk about examples of factual content. How long do I have to file a personal injury claim? Step-by-step workers' comp guide, data, stats, sites. Putting these together are really, really important. Like a page full of like aligner data. I don't know, something like dentist data for 2026, updated, blah, 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 whatever that looks like. And just pulling together these different citations and data. And again, you might look at this and say like, yeah, I already do this, man. This is just SEO content. Exactly. Right, that's where I'm getting to. We're gonna get there. Don't worry. That this is not gonna require you to rebuild your entire agency. The point of this here is that you can start offering this right now without having to rebuild your entire process. You just have to be a little bit more mindful. We have to tweak your process. We don't have to change your process, right? So the next up, reviews. Traditional SEO is really looking at volume, specifically on Google Business Profile. Emerging LLMs are looking at review sentiment and diversity across platforms, right? So what does that mean? It means, one, the context of that review is much better. Just a 5-star review with no language on it doesn't really help. Getting reviews that leave the name of the person that helped them there, right? As long as that name is on the website too. Talking about the service that they got, talking about the pricing, talking about all these different things are very, very important, but also getting them across different platforms, right? Yelp is weighted very, very heavily because it's not as easily to spam and to beat as Google Business Profile reviews, which we know are very easy to get right now. You can go on Facebook and buy them for $5. And then relevance and velocity, again, same type of thing. Don't overthink it. You don't need a very specific cadence. More reviews are better, more recent reviews are better, and more consistent reviews are better. Spread them across platforms and make sure that you're putting together guidance for reviews so people know, hey, talk about the service that you got, talk about the person that helped you out, talk about those types of things in your reviews. The more specific that you are to the business, that relates to the business, the better that we're gonna be. So back to citations, your general list of citations that you can buy from pretty much any platform. But over here on Local SEO, on Local GEO, we're talking much more about trusted local media and associations. So what does that mean, right? Like back in the day, when I say back in the day, up until recently, right, it was like bulk directory submissions. Again, things like Hot Frog that people never really used. They were just online directories that, was a quantity game, very little about the quality or the relevancy of it. Now we're talking about building an additional list. And if you're inside the Blueprint training, I've already been doing this for years, right? I've told you how our agency has been focused on Avo, Find Law, super lawyers, expertise. We went out and said, hey, any platform that's ranking for target queries, like if you go type in car accident attorney Miami, you're gonna see expertise fine lot ranking on the first page. That tells me that Google thinks that these websites are important, so our clients should think they're important too. That extends to here, but even more so, right? So we're talking about getting mentioned in as many local media outlets as possible, right? Not just links, but like actual brand mentions, submissions of quotes, etc. Government, nonprofits, getting back to doing those .edu submission links or sponsorship links, community sponsorships and mentions, and then industry trust directories, right? So like national recognized organizations, if you specialize in dentists, doctors, lawyers, anything accounting that has certifications, you should find as many of those websites as possible. Even if you have to pay to get on them, you should get on them, get a profile, build that profile, optimize that profile, and try to get a review in that profile if possible. All of these things are going to send massive amounts of trust and authority signals to these LLMs that are really, really going to help you out. So then again, on-site content when it comes to SEO is very standard, right? Like your schema, like building the page right. And then again, I talked about this, like conversational content that matches natural queries, getting off of this like bland, like straight up ripping keywords from tools and then using that to build content. We have to think. Right, we have to be a little bit more conversational because that's the tone and nature of these conversations. If you just compare yourself, how do you search in Google versus how do you use ChatGPT and LLMs to find information? You have to be very mindful of that when we're going through this process here. So another big one here, again, we talk about local backlinks, and I know you're thinking like, hey, local backlinks, we already talked about that up here, right? Mentions in local citations. Yeah, I told you, there's a lot of overlap here, which is good. But what we also want to focus on here is brand visibility across platforms. So getting podcast video, video shows up a lot in ChatGPT search. We want to get as much information and content. All this comes down to y'all is we want to prove that we're an authoritative, trustworthy source, and in as many places as possible, as active as many places as possible. We get a ton of traffic from ChatGPT because we're all over the place. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on podcasts, we're doing press. Like we've been investing in this stuff for a while, really because it's just good for the brand, it's good for the business, but now we're reaping the benefits from ChatGPT quite a bit. So again, when we talk about the citations and what we want to get on here, the more the better, the more places the better. It's not just about just your website, it's also about getting in other platforms as well. And then finally, traditional stuff like behavioral signals, clicks, calls, driving directions. That's why click-through rate manipulation has been like a thing in local SEO. But then over here is just making sure that like the content is accessible, structured data schema. And again, we talked about that in the local SEO side, so it's good. So there's overlap here. So look, this is good news for you as an SEO agency because I'm not presenting you a problem. I'm actually presenting you an opportunity. We've already started doing this for our lawyer clients. We're able to charge more, number one. All we've had to do is really just alter our process, again, not rebuild it. We've had to make tweaks to the process, which the process is already done. It's inside the blueprint training. If you don't have it already, we're just making small tweaks to it. And even better, this is an offer that people are excited about, right? SEO is kind of falling off a cliff a little bit in terms of getting people excited about it because the market's saturated. It's a very mature, hyper-aware market. But when we talk about GEO, people are using ChatGPT and they're like, oh, I use it all the time now too. I would love for my business to be in there. That gives you a new fresh marketing angle, a new fresh offer. So it's now SEO plus GEO rolled into one. That's what I really highly recommend your service become. So again, the best part about this is that there's overlap, right? This chart here shows traditional SEO factors, local GEO factors, but the overlap here is about 80%, right? And like even a lot of the stuff that's just GEO factors, you're probably sitting here being like, yo, like I sat through this entire presentation and he didn't tell me anything that I didn't already know about SEO. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point. There's a lot of overlap, which is good, but I guarantee you that you're still not doing it. Like I guarantee you, you're not actually getting local press mentions, are you? I guarantee you that you're not actually getting reviews for your clients on Yelp, are you, right? So these are the things that I'm pushing you to add into your process and make them a huge priority, because if you do, you are going to reap the benefits. Your clients are going to reap the benefits, and if your clients reap the benefits, you're going to reap the benefits. So just some more information about the overlap, but I think I beat that to death. But two, you got to build a real business, right? And again, I know that becomes hard as an agency to do that for clients, but at the end of the day, that's why we exist, right? You're adding more value to your clients. You're actually helping them get omnipresent on all these different channels, and the internet's very fragmented right now. It's only going to get more fragmented, not just from a search point of view, but just how and where people are consuming content. The more places they are, the better it's going to be, the more you can charge, the more money they're going to make, the more money they make, the more money you're going to make. And finally, you've already got the blueprint to do this, because this is all inside of the blueprint training. I've literally gone through and historically built out and given you an SOP for exactly how to do local SEO. That local SEO SOP has been completely updated to factor in GEO factors as well. So if you want access to it, you can get into it in the blueprint training for just $199. I'm going to give you the exact SOP, step-by-step training, all the templates that you need to take this, not only offer it to clients and get them results, but also how to sell it to the clients as well, position it, market it for your agencies. If you want access, hit the link below. If not, I'll see you in the next video.